everyone, and welcome to this episode of My Great Aunt EDNA, the leadership show that focuses on excellence, doing things the right way, no shortcuts, and accountability. I'm your host, Mac McNeil, and this week we have a very special guest, Miss Linzy Elizabeth. And I can tell you right now that she's one of my favorite follows on LinkedIn, so you guys immediately put her in, find her. She's going to be extremely exciting for you guys to watch. But I want to tell you a little bit about Linzy. So Linzy is an executive coach and a speaker, and she has a new podcast out called Unmuted. And I also follow Unmuted, so I would suggest you all do the same. But she's also a mother, a ballroom dancer, and I will say that I'm impressed by a few of her moves. And in general, she's just a lover of life. And that's why I like following her. So with that, I want to introduce Miss Linzy Elizabeth. And Linzy, thank you for joining the show today.
Mac, thank you so much for this. I am excited. I'm excited for this conversation and the opportunity because every time we have the opportunity to connect, it is just expansive. And I'm excited for the viewers and the listeners to be able to see their life through my story so that they can unlock their next steps.
So you just mentioned exactly where I want to go. You said your story. So everyone has a story. I find your story to be fascinating. Not necessarily the challenges that you have faced, but what you've done to overcome them. And that's really what I want to talk about. So if you could, for the listeners out there, if you can share a little bit about your story, who is Linzy Elizabeth? What brought you to this point in your life?
Yeah, so I'll give you a big picture overview and you can zoom in wherever you want to go. So, graduated with 2 science degrees from college. I have a Bachelor of Biology, Associates in Chemical Methods. Was accepted to Medical University of South Carolina for medical school. Decided not to go and stay in Indiana and get married. While I was married, we had a landscaping business. We had a farm, bison, cattle, sheep, chicken. I homeschooled my 2 children. And it was a very toxic and soul-robbing marriage for me. And then fast forward, I was in the marriage for 13 years. That literally really was the catalyst and the grounds of my evolution and where it began. I chose love, and what does it look like? Because somehow love has to win, but what does that look like? I have no idea. So then fast forward, on the other side of divorce, opened my own business, and even though I'd been an entrepreneur for 15 plus years, doing it as a solopreneur, it's just very different facet. And I knew that being an entrepreneur and following my creative pursuits within would be the catalyst for me to evolve and become the person that I wanted to be. And then in that road, I also became a ballroom dancer. My children are now at school, and here we are today.
All right. So I'm sure that was a long story made short, but
Yeah.
appreciate that. And I want to talk a little bit about what you've become. You know, many people have gone through divorces. Many people have, I love the fact you talked about your education and your opportunities, but you chose something else. You chose family over that. A lot of people have done that as well. But a lot of people are still stuck. Like they don't know where to go after, they've made some choices they weren't happy with or just went through struggle like you did with toxic marriage. And that's what fascinates me about you and your story and what I follow on LinkedIn. I look at your pictures. You can see, the before and after. First of all, thank you for being transparent and sharing all of that. You're extremely transparent, but you can see the light in your eyes now. And there are so many people that want that or want that back. And it looks like you've been able to do that. So talk about that transition and what are some of those decisions you had to make daily to get to where you are right now?
So big picture and also smallest picture is truth is love. And when we acknowledge the truth of who we are and what actually is, when you get down to the root, because it's often we want that. We want that external, whether it's the man, the money, the happiness, and even though it's the feeling of happiness, lots of times we externalize it into the things or the situations, the experiences. But when you really connect with the truth of who you are and you shed the lies, now you're at the place where you're accessing your freedom. Um, yeah.
So
Let you go wherever you
again,
want.
another great answer, the truth of who you are. It sounds extremely simplistic. And I'm gonna put myself in the shoes of someone who's recently divorced. I've never been divorced, My wife was previously, but I'm going to put myself or try to put myself in their shoes and say, like, that sounds easy, to say that, just be true to who you are. But my guess is there are people out there that don't think they know who the hell they are. Like they lost it someplace and they don't know who the hell they are anymore. So again, like that transition, like if I'm that person, what would you tell me?
Yeah. So we often get lost in who we are by misidentifying. So I can misidentify and think, oh, I am an entrepreneur. I am a ballroom dancer. I am a mother. Well, those are all facets of me that are the expression of who I am. But if you really stop and think about it, like you are the awareness inside of you. You are the one having this life experience.
Hmm.
And if we did exploratory surgery on Lindsay, we couldn't find her. She's in there.
Yeah,
And yet, likewise, if I was laying there and I was on a table and I was a corpse, you're going to visually see me, but I'm gone.
yeah.
So it's you when we really understand that we are that essence, and everybody, depending on your religious beliefs, people use different
Hmm.
language for it, but
Yeah.
we are the spirit, we are the essence, we are that awareness, the literally breath of life. Like, and that is also that is also the thing when we identify with that. It also is the thing that unifies us, which seems counterintuitive, but I have the breath of life in me the same as
Mhm.
you do, the same as a lady underneath a bridge in my city, the same as Trump does in Trump Tower. And so, regardless of somebody's external situation or how they're choosing to live into their awareness, hatefully or with love, the fact is, we all have that.
So I love the piece when you said we are the ones living this life experience. I think many people miss that in life, and I think that's one of the truths that comes out of who you are and how you got to where you are right now is that realization that this is our life, that we live this life, and so many people want to think about external factors, as you just mentioned, to make themselves up. But I love that piece. That resonated with me when you said that. Like this is our experience, so dig deep into yourself. And I want to transition a little bit here into what my great aunt Edna is about, and that's leadership. So again, you've made this transition. You're in the middle of it now. You're living it. I'm a fan, and but would you
Thank
consider
you.
yourself a leader?
Mm. I believe we all are leaders because number one, you're always leading yourself, whether or
Hmm.
not you acknowledge that. It's kind of like gravity. Gravity is working on the both of us. We're both at different locations on this globe. Whether we acknowledge, whether we scientifically know, whether it's a little baby or we literally are able to cognitively understand gravity, it's still happening. Um, and in the same way, you're always leading yourself. And we often give that to somebody else, say
Hmm.
to my husband, to my wife, to my boss. We often give that away, and it's actually your job. It is nobody else's job to lead you. The second thing is someone is always watching you. It might be the Starbucks barista, it might be the mailman, it might be it, and it's oftentimes we're impacting people who we don't even recognize, and we often also misidentify and think, well, those are the people I want to impact. Or, hey, why don't they pay attention? Or, hey, my high school buddy, he needs to ante up and do what I'm doing. Or we often want to project our experiences as opposed to, once again, have ownership of our own self, lead our own self. And then in that, you literally become magnetic. You literally um, create these ripples of influence and it just happens. So in that, I absolutely believe we're all leaders.
So I'm glad you said it twice. You said you're leading yourself. We are the leaders of ourselves. And that's where it begins. Lead yourself and don't give that responsibility to someone else. And then don't hold them accountable for your own self-worth and where you're going in life. You're leading yourself. So thank you for saying that twice. And I'm going to change gears here and not really. I'm just kind of setting it up for where I want to go next. But so so again, I'm watching you on LinkedIn all the time and your posts and your shares and your successes and all of that good stuff. There's one picture in particular that I'd absolutely love, and I'm sure a lot of other followers loved it as well. But you're in a store, you're looking at some lights or ceiling fans or something like that, and you're laying on the damn ground in the store, looking up at the lights. First of all, who the hell took that picture? That was one. That's one of the things that came to
My
my mind.
daughter.
Like, did she put the cake? It was your daughter. Okay,
Uh-huh.
all right. But you're laying on the ground, you're looking up at the lights. So first of all, tell me why. What made you do that? And then what was the message? I know what I got out of it, but what's the message that you were trying to send?
So my brand, like my podcast, is unmuted. And we often live muted to our own desires, muted to the truth that is alive and available within us, muted to the actual life experience that we want. And we leave that once again by not taking ownership of it, but by giving it to others. And when you align with the truth of who you are, it shifts everything. It shifts your energy. It shifts. And as it shifts your energy, it changes the world and it changes the way that you see the world. It changes literally the interactions, it changes the availability for interactions. So, with that, as I continue to evolve and shed the lies, shed the fear, shed the things that are no longer serving, um, literally, it the world just changes.
Hmm.
And it's so funny because I thought, oh, so I'm looking up and I'm looking up at the lights and it's like straining my neck and we're going over the aisles and the aisles. It's been a half hour. We keep like we're talking through it and whatever. That we're not choosing one yet. And so um but it just like, oh, there has to be a better way.
Hmm.
And when you unmute and when you unlock you, now you see the whole world differently. And to me, it was very interesting because in that I noticed, so here I am, I'm having this experience. I then think, oh, I'm going to share this and post it because I'm having this vantage point. Like I literally am sharing this perspective and I've trained myself over the past couple of years through social sharing. Like as I learn something, share my perspective. So, oh, okay, I'm
Hmm.
going to share this. But then as I post it, the responses were that were written. Who knows what everybody else's responses were that didn't write something, but it just was, oh my goodness, that's out of box. Oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, what if somebody came in the aisle? And the funny thing is, none of those thoughts came to my mind. It literally was like if somebody would have came, I've been like, "Peace up, how are you?" Like I literally would have
Yeah.
said, not peace out. I would have said, "Peace up," because I'm down and you're up. Like it wasn't revolutionary for me in my life to do that.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It
Whereas
does.
yeah, so when you evolve and when you allow yourself to align with the authenticity and truth of who you are, it just changes, and then it changes. Nobody did happen to come in the aisle because it was like 9 o'clock on a Saturday, but, it just changes what's available to you.
So I can tell you what I got out of it. Immediately when first, of course, I looked at it and I started laughing. I was like, Lindsay is out there. That girl is crazy. But then the next thing that came to my mind was that's ingenious because what she just did is told everyone that you just need another perspective.
Mhm,
Like you can look at the same thing over and over and over, and it's a strain on you, as you said, your neck. And you're right. Like thousands of us walk through Home Depot and Lowe's and other places, and we're straining. The store has made it something that's convenient for them. And of course, they want to sell it and it's usually
mhm,
elevated in your home. But it just makes logical sense just to lie down. You're
mhm.
not straining and you're in your bed anyway, most of the time when you're looking up at it or
Yeah.
on the couch, right? So let me get a
Mhm,
true perspective of this. That's what I got out of it is that regardless of what you're going through or what you're seeing, take another look at it from a different perspective and you might actually find out that you like it or something that you like actually sucks. You see something now that you didn't
mhm,
see before. So that was in my mind that was ingenious. I was like, first of all, she's bold enough to do that because most people wouldn't post something like
mhm,
that or do that in a store. But the message that came out of that for me was like that is just cool as hell. Different
mm,
perspective. So you should make that like one of your big things. Like put that on a billboard somewhere in Indiana. I guarantee you, a lot of people will respond to that. Like that is just cool. Why didn't I think of that? And then watch one day you're gonna be walking down in Home Depot and Lowe's, and somebody's gonna be lying down, looking up at a light, and they're gonna see you like that's Lindsay, right?
and I'm gonna
Oh
lay down
man,
next to him and be like, "Which one do you want?"
yeah. No,
Mhm.
that was pretty cool though. So this is where I want to go next. Is my great aunt Etna talks about no shortcuts, part of the acronym. And again, you had to go through all of these experiences to get to where you are. Do you think that along that route you took some shortcuts to mentally and spiritually get to where you are, or did you have to take the long route? Did you walk it all the way out?
Mhm. So both. I feel like lots of times we want to answer or experience life in polarity. Yes, no, good, bad,
Mhm.
right, wrong. And lots of times the answer is yes and yes, both. Um, I 100% am all in. I'm willing, period, end of story. I'm willing. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to accept. Willing to shed. I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to become somebody that I'm not currently in terms of my external skill sets, all that. I took the short route in the fact of I heavily invested in myself through professionally, personally. Ballroom dance is not cheap. I did 3 competitions last year. I've done 4 or 5 showcases. I do anywhere from 4 to 6 lessons a week. Um, I've invested very heavily with coaches, with experiences, and because I knew that me just sitting there is great value to sitting in your home and to meditating, to growing, to reading, to cultivating, learning how to deal with your own head, your quiet space, doing yoga in your house, whatever. There's great value in that. There's also great value in go out and do things that you've never done. So I signed up um, for Jesse Itzler's Badass Calendar Club, and that would have been the summer of 2020, I believe. 2020. And then from leapfrogging and saying yes and saying yes and saying yes. And in that, you also learn because we also have so many ideas and stories around money and what does it look like to spend money? What does it look like? What should I get for $5? What should I get for $100,000? And when you start to detach from that and realize that it's an energetic flow and you get to experience it and it's a resource, but it's supposed to flow. It's not supposed to stay stagnant. It literally is currency.
Hmm.
And so in that, it is you definitely will expedite your success when you invest in yourself because each time each time you spend whatever you consider to be a certain dollar value because we
Hmm.
place value on it.
Yeah.
When you do that, you literally rise into the level of that energy. Like I change every time I evolve every time I sign up for a dance competition because I have to look like that out on the floor, like I'm at that level now, or I just bought that dress. Like
Hmm.
last year, I bought a red dress on purpose because if I'm going to wear that red dress, what am I going to have to learn to dance like to embody that dress? And so when you can literally sign up for a life to catalyze you into the growth and the fun and the freedom that it is that you desire to have.
Like it. So self investment, sort of a shortcut.
Mhm.
Yeah. It just moves things along, but you're right. Investing in yourself. And then you do executive coaching.
Yes.
Yes. So that's how you and I initially, connected. So tell me a little bit about that and, what are you trying to accomplish with your executive coaching?
Well, I first want to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So we it's because we often get confused out here in the noise and in the stories, and whether they're at a place of burnout or they're at a place of transition. Lots of times people are in transition from um, corporate into entrepreneurship or whatever that looks like. Um, and we just reach this point where we feel lost, whether we can articulate all this with words, but we feel
Mhm.
lost. And I can sense this big picture thing out here. I can sense that I'm made for so much more and I can taste it and I can feel it inside of me, but I have no idea what to do with all these things that I feel so that it comes out to be this thing. Like I don't know how to build the bridge from here to there. And I
Mhm.
certainly don't know what plank is number 3, what plank is number 42, what plank is 365. Um, and so we get really clear on what it is that they want, and then we walk through that hand in hand together. So I do have a 10-step system. Um, and but it first for sure is the clarity on what it is that they want, where are they going, and then help them actually understand what it is that they actually want. Because lots of times we have those answers within our soul and in our
Hmm.
essence, but it's how do we access it? So my superpower really is helping you understand and access yours.
And you just had a summit in your hometown, correct? You brought in some
Hmm.
of
Yep.
your candidates or.
Yep. So my mastermind,
Mhm.
I have a mastermind, and we had a session at my yep, a in-person retreat in my hometown. Mhm.
Yeah. So first of all, how did that go, and how many people had never been there?
Mhm. So, yeah, so my town it's nice, it's big-ish compared to so we're about 2 hours north of Indianapolis. Um, it went amazing. It was really cool because we had been on this journey together, and to meet in person. So what had happened was everybody traded in. It came with two. The mastermind came with two one-on-one coaching sessions, but everybody decided to trade in their one-on-one coaching sessions to then have this day retreat experience. And as adults, we forget to play, we forget to have fun, and we
Hmm.
forget to understand the magic and the magnificence of fun. So all of this everything we're talking about applies to leaders because leaders first 100%, we all are humans, and we have that awareness within inside of us, and we bring with us our traumas, we bring with us our stories, our relationship failures, our relationship successes, our like all of that. So then we come into this moment and often muted, and if I'm not doing a good job at leading myself, literally within my own life, I don't have that to infiltrate into my leadership
Hmm.
because what is leadership? Actually, you're impacting other people
Right.
who also have that awareness within inside of them. First and foremost, they also come with all of their stories. And now you all are trying to function to create a financial paradigm for this company that you all work with together. And when we just put the focus on the financial paradigm and the things that are happening within that, we
Mhm.
miss the richness of everything else. And we miss the essence that's available within inside of everybody to bring their best to the table, their authentic self, which then changes the entire game. It changes everything.
Outstanding. I like it. I like it. And I think you're going to be extremely successful. I think your personality has a lot to do with it. The fun part, you really, and it's in your smile from what I see anyway. I'm sure you take like, I'm just guess you take like 50 pictures and you pick out the one that's perfect. But,
Maybe two or
within.
three.
Yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
I know when I'm doing video recordings, sometimes it's like 10 takes before I get that right one. But your smile, that it says fun, it says excitement, it says joy. And you're so right that there's some leaders that are out there that are doing things well in a corporate sense, but they
Yes.
still don't have that sense of accomplishment or joy within themselves. So again, if your listeners are out there and you're one of those people, absolutely reach out to Linzy. And we're going to get our information up on the screen before we're done here. But before we go, I have to ask you my staple question that I ask everyone that comes onto this show. And this is my question, Linzy. So in today's environment, in this year of 2023, thinking in terms of leadership that just pisses you off that you wish that you could change.
Mm. Truly, number one, if you became willing to actually, number two, take ownership of you. It changes everything. It changes everything.
So willingness and ownership.
Mhm.
I like the second one. That ownership piece. And the reason why I say that is because I see so many times when people want to push failures onto something else or someone else. And so I love that ownership piece. And I think it's powerful. And I'm sure you've dealt with this with, some of the clients that you work with, but how do you handle that? Like if you're dealing with someone that doesn't want to take ownership of themselves or leading themselves or even leading others, like how do you deal with that?
Well, number one, they're usually not my client because I can understand that prior to, because I'm not cheap and I'm not interested in when you choose you and you choose me, I choose you and we do it together, but you have to choose you first. I've had people say, I will pay you whatever. I want to work with you. Whatever it is, let me know. And I'm sorry, no, we're not going to work well together. I can give you some recommendations, but this is not going to be a good fit. Um, but that ownership piece, it unlocks things inside of you that you cannot understand until you actually decide to take ownership of you. It unlocks a layer and levels of deliciousness to your soul into the life that you get to experience, and you don't get to it just can't come without that. So then it goes back to willingness, because I think, though, if for someone who is stuck, because we actually do things that we feel are in our best interest. Nobody's out
Mhm.
there saying, I'm interested in sabotaging myself today.
Yeah.
And so we often apply shame to these things because we say, pull up your bootstraps. You better do this thing. Why don't you doing this? You have these opportunities. You live in America. And we shame people into trying
Hmm.
to help them create goodness, as opposed to understanding when you have traumas, you don't know how to deal with your feelings. So it is safer for you to not feel. It is safer for you to be numb. It is safer for you to feel lost in a toxic work environment, because if you feel, you don't have the tools to know what to do with the feelings.
Hmm.
And so when you come to this point of, I am actually in charge of my life and I'm ready to take ownership of it, now that's the fertile ground in the soil where we can plant the seeds so that you're able to understand what to do with the things that are no longer serving you. Because it's a scary place to be, to have these things. And that's why we push away and we go out into the noise and the chaos, because we don't know what it's like to be intimate with ourselves. And it's scary. It's
Hmm.
really scary. But once you choose you, because the pain out here, there's something out here that is no longer working. And
Yeah.
when you honor the truth that it is no longer working, maybe it once was, it served me at a time, but it is not working. This job, this role, this marriage, this place we live, this whatever it is, it
Hmm.
was working, but it is no longer. So I'm unwilling, back to the willingness, I'm unwilling to remain in the thing that is not working. And we're so often afraid of the pain moving forward when we forget to understand that the pain is actually happening right now.
So this is probably one of the best answers to that question I've heard on this show. You drew a line, and well, it's even beyond that. A line in the sand. I love that your immediate response, and you didn't even smile when you said it. Was that first of all, they wouldn't be one of my clients because that's a non-negotiable. It's something that irritates you, and it's non-negotiable to work with you if you're not going to take ownership. So I love that response, and then the detail that followed it. And again, you guys that are listening or watching, you hear all of these gems of wisdom. Reach out to her. I'm telling you, you'll definitely benefit from it. But before we go, Linzy, how can people get in touch with you? And what are some of the other things that you're working on, or some things that are forthcoming that you want the audience to know about?
Yes. Well, thank you, Mac, for this. Thank you for this conversation. It is expansive and coming together like this. I'm just grateful. So thank you for the opportunity.
You're
Um,
welcome.
LinkedIn is my social media jam. So at Linzy Elizabeth. My podcast is Unmuted with Linzy Elizabeth. And I am also on Instagram at Linzy, Linzy Unmuted. I have one on one coaching. I have another mastermind coming up soon, opening up, and I have retreats. Currently have one in less than 2 weeks in Rhode Island, but retreats will also be coming. And so there is expansive opportunities for whatever it is that fits you. Also opened up Unmuted Talks that is happening on Mondays, and that is in response to my podcast. So coming together, because just like this, there's so much information packed in podcasts. But now, what do we do with it? How can we apply one nugget or 10 nuggets, whatever it is that people come with, into our lives? So, Unmuted Talks, that is happening on Mondays. And yeah, I'm here for it. So thank you, Mac.
Oh, you're very welcome. And your unmuted talks, that's the live version, right? Where people
Yep.
can
So
join.
that is
Yeah.
going to be just a live discussion. So
Mhm.
my podcast comes out on Tuesdays and then on Fridays. So I have interviews happen on Tuesday, and then I have my reflection on the interview that comes out on Friday, and that's shorter, like usually 5 or 10 minutes. But then Monday is going to be discussions, talks, and let's literally have unmuted talks, not just between me and you, but opening it up to having those unmuted conversations because that is the purpose of these. So
Outstanding. And thank you, ma'am. This has been a great episode, great dialogue. I look forward to future conversations and watching your expansion and what you're doing and, what you're growing into. And so, everyone that's listening, her information is up on the screen right now. Please reach out to her if you have any questions about anything that she just discussed. And also, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to this channel so that you can hear from other great leaders from all over the world to help you in your own leadership journey. And with that, I say thank you. May your week be excellent, and God bless. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of My Great Aunt Edna featuring Linzy Elizabeth. She helps CEOs solve stress and burnout, one of the top executive coaches out there. And her information is up on the screen right now. You can reach her at linzyelizabeth.com. And also, I want to remind everyone of my book that's available called My Great Aunt Edna, The Golden Girl of Leadership. Available at Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and wherever books are sold. And please like and subscribe to this channel so that you can hear from other great leaders from all over the world to help you in your own leadership journey. And with that, I say thank you. May your week be excellent, and God bless.